Well, hello everyone. This is Michael with New Victory Gardening. And today, I don't knock myself out, is a day that I have been looking forward to and not looking forward to at the same time. We're here under the grape trellis and I'm going to harvest grapes today. And so if you've been keeping up with the channel, which I'd invite everyone watching the video to do, you'll know that I've had an issue with little bugs on my grapes. And so I'm putting gloves on. And so these little bugs come out of nowhere and just completely infest the leaves of my grapes and chew on those leaves until the leaves are mostly dead. And so naturally that's had an effect on production. And at the same time, I have tried every reasonable organic method to try and get rid of these bugs, and none of it's ever worked. And so in order to save my harvest and keep my harvest organic, or at least mostly organic, I've just tried to manage them the best I can by spraying soap on them, by water blasting them, just anything that I could do to try and hold them at bay until I can harvest. And so today's that day. And once I get done with this harvest, I'm gonna use poison, regular old, off the shelf pesticide, because I think that's what people have been doing who, farm for a living or, have a little more at stake in this than I do. And so I'm thinking that's the only way I'm going to get them out of this grape patch. The grapes do look good. They're late. Hold on. I'll get a bunch and show them to you. They're late this year, just a little bit late, not too late, but they still look really good. And they're sweet. They taste good. I've already been eating them. So that's always nice. It's just having these insects in here. It's just not fun. It's not pleasing. And, it's kind of an annoyance, and it affects my plants. It makes them even later. Oh my. Let me get that bunch for you. So here they are. I don't know if you can see them. It's muscat. But, they have that unique, lovely muscat flavor. But at the same time, they make a pretty good, interesting wine. It is not the sweet wine that you get at the store. It's more like a Sauvignon Blanc. And it really just depends on how you process it. But, the stuff they have at the store, they add sugar to, I think, which is no good. It's not cool. And so that's why it tastes kind of different than what you would expect from these grapes. I tell you right now, if you can grow grapes, it's one of my favorite things. And it's easy to do, even if you just grow one grapevine. I actually love these grapes. I like to eat them as well. My goal is to get about 3 gallons to make wine from today. And then what's left, I'll eat on until they're all gone. And my dog, as you can see below me, absolutely loves grapes too. Whatever drops to the ground, he'll polish off within a few minutes. So I guess you could say that works for everybody. I'd like to put more time into working these grapes. And so I think I'm gonna graft a tree next year so that I can get rid of a tree. And then once I'm able to get rid of a tree, I have more time to work on these grapes to protect them and to see that they, you know, stay healthy and ripen the best they can. So let me get to harvesting, and I will visit back in here in a few minutes. Hey everybody, just checking in. I finished the first vine, now I'm moving on to the second vine. And so what I thought is I would talk a little bit about how you harvest grapes. First, oh my, don't you hate it whenever you miss a huge beautiful bunch just because it's hidden behind some leaves or behind a trellis or something? Oh my, there it is. Whoa, it's a heavy bunch. Just missed that, the full grown one. So I would recommend you wear a hat and some long sleeves if possible. You could do it with short sleeves. Wear some good sturdy shoes. I have gloves on. You can take the grapes off by hand, or you can use some shears or a knife or something like that. If your grapes are up high like mine, the hat is really important, but if you trellised them low, then it's just a hat for sun protection. But for me, it's for sun protection, and it's for protection from things that might fall as I'm harvesting. Bits of grapes, leaves, whatever it may be. And so as I'm harvesting, I'm selecting through the grapes. I don't want to get grapes that have bunches that have any abnormalities like rot or anything like that in them. There's the boitrous fungus that'll start to get into the grapes themselves. So I usually try to cut that part out. Also, there'll be some critters in there, mostly just little spiders that are fruit spiders. And even though it's not the biggest deal because I'm just going to press these grapes, I like to get those out as well. Okay. So I have mockingbirds that live with me. It's another good one. I have mockingbirds that live with me every year full time, and they live on these grapes. And I've come to let them coexist because mockingbirds, unlike birds in the jay family or our friends that rove around in groups called, oh my goodness, the name is escaping me right now. I dislike it when that happens. They're not crows. Anyway, it'll come back to me in a second. So some birds get in and they peck one fruit, and then they peck another 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 fruit. And the next thing you know, all of your fruit has a hole in it, right? Well, mockingbirds are not like that. You know, jays are, blue jays, scrub jays, even robins, they're like that. Well, my little friend the mockingbird, even though he's noisy as can be, they come down and they take a single grape and they eat it, and then they fly back up to their perch and sing their little hearts out because they're so happy. And a lot of folks think that that singing is noise, but I don't. Because the birds are content. It's funny, you put yourself in the shoes of a mockingbird or a little small animal and eating a sweet, juicy grape. Just one, unlike us who eat a whole bunch at a time. That one grape that they eat, that could be the highlight of their whole summer in their existence here in my garden. And so because of that, I allow them to coexist with me, and they come back every year and I see them. I used to net my trellis, and funny thing, the birds, these grapes get so good that the birds just brave the net. So I netted it, and I would come out in the morning and I would find a bird caught in my net. And so I would take that bird out of the net, he'd fly away, and I'd come back and the same bird would be caught in the net the next day. And so I says, well, the grapes just must be too good for them. Having my dog has helped a lot because he chases out a lot of the larger birds. And so that's helped a lot. And I just kind of coexist with them otherwise. But yeah, you'll have to protect your trellis, and you'll have to protect your grapes, especially if you live in the city and if you don't want to use chemicals or pesticides or anything like that. It's definitely a consideration. Let's see here. I have some other birds come in and make a nest every year in my grapes, which if you've grown grapes, you see why. They grow in these beautiful trees and they're surrounded by good food, and so how could a bird resist setting up a nest there? And so I just deter those birds. Find the nest early and deter them before they can get set up. And that's the way to deal with that. They'll go set their nest up somewhere else, and that's that. One year, luckily not this year, and maybe with my timing it helps as well of harvest this year, but I had bees. So not honeybees, but other species of bees. I can't identify, I'm not a bee expert, but those bees, they came in and I could not harvest. I could not harvest because every time I started breaking open or just agitating the grapes, they would come in and they would start feeding on them. They bust the grapes open, one grape at a time, and eat the sweet stuff, right? And they would come in such numbers that I would have to leave. This year, luckily, there's no bees, and I would probably spray something, before I harvest. Because they can really damage a crop. If you let too many bees get into your crop and get accustomed to eating your grapes, they can really damage it. And so what I like to do there is move them out and harvest the grapes as early as I can before they find them, right? Because once they find them, then you have to do something to get them out. And it's just a whole lot easier if they could never find them. That's some part of organic gardening is getting stuff harvested before populations can get established. Populations of whatever it might be, pests or animals or whatever it might be. You want to harvest out before they can get established. And that'll do you a big favor. Oh, let's see here. All right, I'm almost done. Let me go ahead and finish up here. And, there's one other thing. So I don't like to harvest grapes when it's hot. I would rather harvest early in the morning when it's still cool. And so that's, I guess, the last thing I'll say is Harvesting in the evening or afternoon may not be the best because that's when all the bugs are active and it's hot. You're bringing in your produce when it's warm. But if you get up first thing in the morning and start your harvest, everything's cool and the bug activity is much less. So anyway, let me finish up today. All right, so I'm pretty much done with harvest. Here's some of it. Yeah, I'm gonna take in and do a tally. It looks like I got a 5-gallon bucket full. I got a 7.5 gallon like metal container. Like, what is that, a half bushel? And then I have another wash basin that's probably 3 to 4 gallons full. And that's kind of from a modest harvest of grapes. And so you can see grapes will be very fruitful. If you had just one grape vine that you could grow and manage, it gives you quite a bit of fruit. You just have to pick the right one for your area. So me, instead of picking a wine grape, I picked this one because you can eat it and make wine out of it. And it grows well in the heat here. So, all right, here we go with the harvest this year. I would say this is gardening under bad conditions, so my grapes aren't their healthiest, but the grapes still taste really good and they'll serve a purpose for what I intended them for. Let's see, I'll take you through. So here's the containers, right? So if you remember a video I did before talking about the most useful plants, for me, grapes are probably the second, but it's a close second most useful plant you can grow in your garden because they're lovely to eat. You can make wine out of them, you can make vinegar out of them, and they're really low maintenance. Like, they're low maintenance, low water usage. You just got to get over a few problems with them because there's so many grown here. There's like, you know, how many hundreds upon thousands of square miles grown in California of grapes. And so naturally, because of that, system's a little out of balance, but it's not insurmountable. And you can see hopefully the theme you've seen this year is that you can like get a harvest. Even when your leaves are messed up, you can get a harvest. Even if you have an insect infestation, you can get a harvest. You know, even if your plant is not as healthy as they can be, you can still get a good harvest. So it's still useful. And to me, very much worthwhile giving a try. All right, here we are, last step. So I set up some containers. I have the containers that I harvested the grapes in here, I filled with water just so they could soak in water for about a minute or two. And then I have 2 containers. One here I'm gonna use to dunk, and then the other one I'm gonna get as much water off of the grapes as I can, and I'll put them in there to be finished. And so to help me clean the grapes and to dry things off of them, I like to use some 30% vinegar. And so I put about 2 tablespoons for, you know, 4 gallons of water, something like that. And go ahead and swirl that around. And then to clean the grapes, if I were just going to eat them, this is how I would clean them. Get the grapes from this container as best you can. You have to be gentle. Sometimes they'll try to come apart on you. But I dunked them in here, right? And so the initial rinse that I did drove off dust. If there's any like living animals on them, like spiders or something, or ladybugs, that's things that came off today. Spiders, ladybugs, those types of things. They'll come off. And then if there's debris from the grapes, so like the flowers sometimes will be left, and so those grape flowers, they'll rinse off. They float, they rise in water, and they'll rise and come off as well. And as you can see, there's a spider or 2 still in here. Spiders are survivors, okay? And so rinsing them gets all that out, right? It gets easier as you get the grapes through the system. But I just like to, you know, put some in this container. After I rinse them in water, give them a vinegar rinse. And then after the vinegar rinse, which is very quick, bring them out and let them drain. And then bring my finished grapes into a container. And so these grapes are still just a little bit wet when you finish with them. That's okay. If you really wanted to do a good job, or you just didn't feel quite comfortable with what you had, you could do a second water rinse. So after you go in vinegar, I usually like to just rinse them in a little bit of water, just to get whatever parts, even though this is a dilute vinegar and a dilute vinegar solution and you really can't taste it, I still want to get get any vinegar out of them. And so I'll rinse them with water one more time. And then when you finish that, you're done. Your grapes will be ready. You can put them in the refrigerator. These grapes here are going to my press. And so this is the day that I will make juice out of these. And then our friends, the yeast, will turn that juice into wine. And fingers crossed this will be a good one. I've been making over a while now, for longer than 10 years. And some batches were so bad that I just had to throw the entire batch away. And then others were good enough to where they rival what you would get in the store. And so I guess it just depends, right? To me, it's worth a try, because if you do it well and you get used to it, the payout's pretty huge. So with that, thanks for watching today. I wish you well in your harvest journey and look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Take care.